Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything's working. I'm your host, Patrick, the local game guy, and we're going to be discussing Slimefoot and Squee momentarily. So there should be a deck list in the description. I should probably check, but it's going to be Slimefoot plus Squee equals Jund. That's fairly obvious, right? Golgari, mixed in a little bit of fire, a little bit of mountain synergy, and you get Jund. So these colors kind of make themselves, sadly. So my goal is to make this less boring by using a package that revolves around one or the other tribe. All right, so we have a fungus goblin here. So we have the rare opportunity to either do something with saprolings or something with goblins. So as a finisher, we've already solved the goblin end of the equation. If you watched our recent video on combos and setups, we talk about Slimefoot and Squee. The obvious line of play is with Goblin Matron. Obviously, Slimefoot and Squee being a goblin, you can sacrifice it to Skirk Prospector. We can get in that in a second. But that's sort of one course of action for the deck. But I wanted to see if there's something within the Saproling area. Very doubtful, but, you know, like I said, Jund is pretty much solved. Like the Jund package, there's a lot of great stuff in there, a lot of great ritual ramp, a lot of great tutors, and then obviously some pretty game breaking cards with Underworld Breach and Dockside Extortionist in red, and Gamble, and there's some other things in red that we want, like the Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast. There aren't that many staples coming from red, but we're going to use a handful. The deck, though, I took the liberty of putting us in a direction because while we want Slimefoot and Squee down to do the thing, and he actually needs to be, they need to be rather, in the graveyard to do the thing, I could see this being an ad nauseam deck, like most decks, right? If we're trying to do it quickly, this is going to be a cEDH build for the list, and our finisher is where we're going to have some variation. So there is a poll ongoing right now. Sadly, the first poll I had going ended early. I guess these are timed. They've never, there's never been a mention of these being timed on YouTube, but it looks like merged tribes is like the route we want. So maybe some sort of finisher with a fungal finisher, little Last of Us Cordyceps kiss. Would you? Oh my God. Can we talk about that? Did anyone else watch The Last of Us like I did? Man, I love the games. I've played a lot of the games. I've played every single version, I think, of the original Last of Us, and I bought Part 1 remake for PS5. And it was close. I feel like the added characters, like that girl from Yellow Jackets, unnecessary. I like that actress. Everything with her is unnecessary, unless it was building up the story with Sam, right? But it was needless. I felt like there was not enough time with Joel and Ellie for me to really care. I don't know, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I heard rave things from people that never played the games. I haven't really talked with anyone who's played the game regarding it outside of my fiance, and we're both sort of lukewarm on it. The finale wasn't a surprise, obviously, but it was just like, didn't really feel as impactful because there weren't that many moments between the two of them in life and death situations. As a matter of fact, there weren't even that many fungal zombies. Anyway, ran over. Johan, hello. Hello. That's a weird little hand emoji. Is that something you can do? I had no idea. The deck list work. Yes, the deck list work. So the list is more or less in a functional state for like an ad nauseam package. And then obviously we can discuss some other cards that we should throw in there. Lake of the Dead is a land I was highly considering. There's a land base that would allow for a Tainted Pact, so we can use that as an alternative form of tutor as well. Just plenty of good stuff. Also, Tainted Pact, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Tainted Pact. So Tainted Pact is nice if we wanted to do food chain. We don't really need to, right? You'd have Squee the Immortal. You have a couple of food chain creatures in these colors, but you may cast Squee the Immortal from the graveyard or from exile. We could add, some sort of food chain package that would work in tandem with Tainted Pact exiling things. But that's not necessarily a route. We don't really have a character out unless there's a Saproling character out, like some X cost Saproling character out that we are determined to use. But I don't foresee us doing that. But at any rate, we can talk more about the deck in a second. How are you all? I'm gonna take a moment before we get started here. We've got like a good 3.5 minutes by this clock. No, 4.5. But yeah, how are you guys? Anything from March of the Machine that's got you excited? Anything you're working with or trying to work on? Let me know. Personally, Moira and Teshar were super appealing to me for obvious reasons. If you've watched this channel before, I'm a Teshar fan. So anything with Teshar's name on it, I'll look at. And Moira is fine. I don't really know what she adds to the equation. I never really played with Moira. But Teshar, reanimating some giant thing, there's some obvious choices there. But I feel like Bolas' Citadel would be really fun. Like storming with that card is kooky, I gotta say. I wouldn't say it's like... It's Storm in Black, okay? It's fun. I think that was the intended goal for Bolas' Citadel. But Moira and Teshar would be super fun. But yeah, if you guys are brewing for anything, let me know. I'd definitely be interested to hear about it. Also, feel free to leave any deck list, list you're working on in the comments if you just want to share. These live stream brewing sessions, they're always communal. Like, these are meant to be a shared experience. So if you brew your own Slimefoot and Squee, love to see it. Consider this just a starting point or a blueprint for you. You can certainly make cuts from cards that I've included or just go completely different route. I suspect you might. You might do that. Because if you're not trying to play cEDH, I feel like there's a lot of other fun things to do with this pairing. We might as well look at the actual card itself, as a matter of fact. Talked about Slimefoot and Squee enough. Yeah, let me do this for you. Can you see? Can you see? Okay, we're gonna go down there. Yeah, and we're gonna definitely go with this art. The art is relevant. It's always a relevant choice. But Slimefoot and Squee for Jund, as the name of this deck list would lead you to believe. Legendary creature, fungus, goblin, 3/3 body. So that's good. Like, those aren't bad stats for a creature. 3/3 is totally fine. 3 defenses we found is more than enough to survive a pyroclasm. Whenever Slimefoot and Squee enters the battlefield or attacks, less of a concern, but that's something to think about, I guess. Create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. Now, I can imagine us playing Slimefoot and Squee early and being able to generate more Saprolings. In the off chance that any of these Saprolings die, I think it will be as a bystander of like a Toxic Deluge or something that winds up killing everything across the board. Which makes me worried about the second half, and that's why I would want to consider some things that make Saprolings outside of Slimefoot and Squee. I mean, obviously, if Slimefoot and Squee dies, you just reanimate it, and that gives us the thing, but I don't mind additional Saproling generation if it means, because the reanimate is on Slimefoot and Squee, if we don't happen to pull into our reanimate, if we're even using reanimate, making a Saproling gives us reanimate. You get what I'm saying? For 1 generic and Jund, sacrifice a Saproling, return Slimefoot and Squee and up to 1 other target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So, I know I said Saproling or Goblin Tribal, but to me it also sounds really fun to go an avenue of approach with Hoarding Broodlord. Like, Hoarding Broodlord is a card that we got really excited about here. I quite like, and I think would functionally work well within this list as a reanimate target, right? Entomb that, or Unmarked Grave that, and even more so than Razaketh, because obviously Razaketh makes sense. You bring Slimefoot and Squee back with Razaketh, you get both of those obviously, and then you also generate a Saproling token. So if we went for some sort of reanimate package, I could see us doing that, and then having 2 creatures to sacrifice and like go into some other sort of storm turn. And that could be finding our Well, in this instance, it would be probably Dockside Extortionist if we wanted to make mana quickly. In a world without that, you'd find like your Rain of Filth, like any single ritual card you can get to get the mana requisite to cast again. It could even be a Lion's Eye Diamond if we decide to go for some sort of Underworld Breach thing, right? LED with, because LED is good for fueling your graveyard, but obviously it gives you colored mana to do other things. And a grinding station package, grind out all of our stuff to just bury everything. I mean, maybe we do LED and Underworld Breach is what I'm saying off of Razaketh, but I'm not even interested in that route. I would be more interested in doing Hoarding Broodlord, because I don't want to add a Buried Alive package, and Hoarding Broodlord is like a nice card to work in collaboration with Slimefoot and Squee, because we can also unmark Graved It, right? Another card I mentioned, because it has to be non-legendary, and Razaketh's legendary, obviously. So bringing back Hoarding Broodlord and Slimefoot and Squee gives us another option that we definitely talked about on the channel, having the Peer into the Abyss package off of a Sacrifice, off of a Saw in Half. So there's like a ton of really interesting value there, and I kind of want to play with that. But I want to research Saprolings, and I want to research, because again, I think Mixed Tribes is more or less tied between our previous poll and this current one, but it looks like it's either that or it's leaning towards Goblins. And I think the Goblin package is going to be in there anyways, so just for Dockside, like, that's not really a Goblin tribal for having one Dockside, but having the Goblin Matron and some Goblin payoffs would make sense with that package. But I do want to look into Saproling tech for this, because I think the merged is where we're going to go. So anything we can find that works in conjunction with this list and well, and is still low to the ground and very cEDH, then we'll consider. But at any rate, I think it's officially time. Welcome to LGG. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette. Today we're going to be brewing Slimefoot and Squee. Very obviously, we've been talking about it during the show, before the show, as well as The Last of Us. Let me know your thoughts on The Last of Us. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts on that program. But I've got a package set up for this list already that goes an ad nauseam route. We can continue down that route, or we can remove it depending on how we feel. I feel like a very early ad nauseam with this list, and then just playing out into Slimefoot and Squee probably makes the most sense. This list could win, provided we do that. This list could win it. It has to win at sorcery because of the activated effect if we're trying to roll with that. If we did an Emergent Zone, we could probably win with an Underworld Breach line of play. And an Emergent Zone is in the deck. So to answer that question, it is a very possible thing. But Slimefoot and Squee, discussed already. This is the deck. Again, the mana base is set up as singles so that we can use Tainted Pact. So there's all your rainbow lands, all your dual lands, all your fetch lands, all that good stuff. Gemstone Mines, probably being the lesser of all the rainbow lands that are in here. I don't think I missed anything. If there's a core land in here that I'm missing, just let me know. Probably want to add a crop rotation to go with that Lake of Dead that you cannot see. That is right down here. I could see us using Lake of Dead though, because you could sacrifice a swamp to maybe even Phyrexian Tower, but Phyrexian Tower would sacrifice the Saproling, excuse me, and then sacrifice a swamp to add 4 black. That's pretty good when you're trying to storm off on your turn or begin the storm. Sometimes you'll need that extra kick. So this will get you there quickly. Unfortunately, it can be tough in lists that are more than dual colored, because you need to have sufficient swamps to sacrifice. It entering sacrifices 1, and then obviously it needs to sacrifice for the 4. Good bit of news is it comes into play untapped though. At any rate, if we included that package, we would want to consider Lion's Eye Diamond. We would want to consider Grinding Station. There's no Brain Freeze and Jund. And then we want to consider Underworld Breach. So that would be that package. And I have it sideboarded for now. But the main package, in case you missed our 10 combos and setups, our favorite ones from the set, the main package is Dockside Extortionist, Goblin Matron, and Skirk Prospector. I'm not going to read Dockside Extortionist, but I feel like we all know what it does. But you get Goblin Matron, right? So you say you have your Slimefoot and Squee out on the battlefield already. You play Goblin Matron. You search your library for Skirk Prospector. What's nice about having this as your sack outlet is that, again, we have a fungal goblin in the command zone. We're able to utilize this to sacrifice both Goblin Matron and Slimefoot and Squee. So that will pay for the generic and the red and the cost of the activated ability from Grave. Once we do that, we pay those two costs and bring Goblin Matron back with Slimefoot and Squee as part of its ability to get Dockside Extortionist. We're making a lot of assumptions here, but if it's turn 2, odds are likely you'll have enough like artifacts and or enchantments out on your opponent's end to make the requisite mana to sacrifice with Skirk Prospector, kill Dockside, kill Slimefoot and Squee, and make infinite mana. And to proceed down the line, you'll sacrifice Goblin Matron. Oh, lo and behold, again, it is your creature finder. We would need to go Goblin Tribal in this sense, and you'd get a Mog Fanatic, or anything that does damage to your opponents. It could be damage on ETB, it could be self-sacrificing damage, it doesn't matter, provided it's a Goblin, and we will have a way to sacrifice Slimefoot and Squee to bring the both of them back, right? So that's the line of play. I was thinking we can use something like an Imperial Recruiter to find all of these, right? And this doesn't pigeonhole us into the sort of Goblin synergy that we're looking at now. So if we used Imperial Recruiter, I think it's a defensive 2 or less, right? We could do that instead. Boop. This guy. I'm sorry, power of 2 or less, so not the Recruiter of the Guard. And then we can use this to find those same creatures, except we could have a different payoff or a different outlet in the list. Maybe, you know, we'll include one that just fits into the list naturally, and then we can use that as our natural form of outlet. Just to piggyback on the idea of using Underworld Breach line of play here, the easiest win using this would just be to Praetor's Grasp an opponent's Thassa's Oracle. And then obviously if we're balancing this out with a Dockside or we're balancing this out with Lion's Eye Diamond, you can make the blue that way to win the game after you've ground through your own deck. So we're probably going to slip into a Praetor's Grasp, into here anyhow. So that's just good synergy. All right. At any rate, Connor says Skirk Prospector 2, giving you sack Slimefoot and Squee to it 2. I'd consider Burnt Offering 2 among your instance. Burnt Offering is the Rakdos equivalent to Sacrifice. It's only good if you have a creature that you can burn that is of value. So if we did the Hoarding Broodlord thing, I'd put both Sacrifice and Burnt Offering just to have the redundancy. But you could kill Slimefoot and Squee, I suppose, and make 3 black and or red in any combination. It by itself is okay. If we determine that it just makes more sense, if we have Slimefoot and Squee on the battlefield, to leverage Slimefoot and Squee to essentially Dark Ritual into an Ad Nauseam off turn, that makes sense, right? And that'll help us power through that end of the negotiation. It's not a guaranteed thing you'll win with Ad Nauseam, but if you build your deck right, you'll get there. You'll certainly get there. We are in Jund though, so we want all the, again, Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast to stave off any nonsense coming from those blue players to ensure that we can win off of an Ad Nauseam. But because of the nature of this deck's win, it being sorcery speed with this setup, we could probably just do this end step and then take our Ad Naus on turn, or our Ad Naus hand. This is, you can make this a main phase Ad Naus deck, like any deck, but I don't know how hard we're really trying to go here. Takenuma, maybe. Takenuma? Takenuma. Beep. We'll look this up. Oh, is a land a potential land to include? Or do you mean the Takenuma Bleeder? Or do you mean sink into Takenuma? I don't know any of these. So let's, I'm going to just read this one. I'm assuming you mean the land. Channel for a 3 generic and a black, discard Takenuma, mill 3 cards, then return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Huh. As a utility land, we can talk about it. I'd run Imperial also for sure. You can find a large amount of items. Yeah, we're gonna add a lot of tutors to this package in a second, and I think that's probably one of the first things we're gonna do. But I mean, the way I've spec'd this out, like again, Jund, most of this deck is kind of made. So what I want to do is research the end of the package that's interesting, right? The kind of tech that will be exclusive to Slimefoot and Squee. The obvious stuff we can get to later. So all the tutors, I've already added all the rituals and I've added all the ramp that I think we should consider. Really, the 2-for-1 rocks are just color fixing because our commander's Jund. It makes sense. I don't even know if you would want that many rocks. And honestly, you may want to include, I don't think I put no, I did, Mana Vault. You might want to put Grim Monolith in here, but because it's so low to the ground and it's going to be leveraging a lot of really good rituals, I don't think we need the generic from a Grim Monolith, by and large. Although it is nice off the Ad Nauseam, I get that. Kiki lines, maybe not because we're running Ad Naus. Oh, well, Kiki's cost. I mean, I wasn't joking. Like, I still would like Hoarding Broodlord. Like, I like this a lot. Like, I think this is a really cool line of play with the Saw in Half. Also, the fact that Saw in Half is just a good way. So, okay. Yep. Obviously, this is a combo card with Saw in Half, right? It's a setup. Watch the video. I highly recommend you watch the video. I feel like we've done a few on this one, but it's a very easy setup with Saw in Half, and Saw in Half is instant speed. So imagine a world where, you know, they're trying to swords your Dockside Extortionist because they're aware that it's an important card for the play line. You can Saw in Half Dockside Extortionist at instant speed and then have 2 more of them, right? So it's a very valid card just in the deck at 3 CMC that will net you so many effects. It just depends on what you're hitting with it. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of it. I like Hoarding Broodlord a lot. I like it a lot more than Razaketh because it's a whole lot less convoluted and it has an additional tutor for it. That's just me though. The land, Johan. The land, okay. That's okay. Nibiru, Skull Clamp in the list. It's about the only thing that's not right now. It could be. And you mean just for the 1/1 bodies? I like that. I mean, that makes sense. It's the only one card of that type I would want to include. Aren't there other pseudo skull clamps now? It's all one word, right? There you go. I would say we would put skull clamp in and we would stop with just the skull clamp. Trying to see if there's cool new art like that one. Wait up. This looks straight out of Metal Gear Solid. I just have to see this. Oh, well, it makes sense now, huh? Oh, that's so sick. Okay, yeah, we're going with that one. I'll leave that on the screen while I read your comments. Or not. Or not. There we go. Okay. I do enjoy Broodlord idea, though. I don't know if it's any better than alternative being Razaketh. Yeah, for a reanimate line. But it does work more generically. Yeah. I like you can also use your Sapperlings to convoke the... Yeah, actually... Oh, okay. So let's just start here. I'm gonna, for the sake of discussion, I'm gonna put Hoarding Broodlord in, and I'm also gonna put Saw in Half, right? Because I'd like to illustrate it live, just to see if we can get to pop off while we're goldfishing here. But the first thing I want to do is look into some Sapperling tech, because I'm gonna end this poll now. But it seems like merged tribes is where everyone wants to go. So I do want to consider some form of Sapperling tech, whether that's just Sapperling generation by way of removal or things that will benefit our Sapperlings. Just more things to do with them. Part of me was considering like play lines. They're really jank though, but play lines is something like a Cryptolith Rite or something to do more with those bodies than just them being Sapperlings. Like you were stating with Hoarding Broodlord, it's nice that it's also able to help with the convoke, right? And it's a green on the convoke if that's relevant, but it's cool. I mean, I think it's really cool tech. If it dies, so something like this seems kind of cool. Artifact mutation, destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated. Okay. It's narrow, but I mean, destroying an artifact is going to hit a lot. most of the stacks we're worried about. At any rate, create X 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens where X is the artifact's mana value. That might be decent tech. Because again, like if we get hit with a board wipe and it's coincidental that the sapperlings die, there's no great way to bring it, Slimefoot and Squee back from the graveyard, unless we just determine that it's best to put it back in the command zone. But I think by and large, I will want to put Slimefoot and Squee in the graveyard. So this gives us the bodies, the sapperling bodies, very important, to bring Slimefoot and Squee back. I don't know, I dig it. Again, it's narrow though, but at 2 mana, it's excusable. I don't know what this is. I've never seen this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a spore counter on Elvish Farmer. Remove 3 spore counters from Elvish Farmer. See, now the spore counter business is really cute. It's not really something we want to dabble with, though. Yes, I like Artifact Mutation. Me too. It's narrow, but you're adding ways to make mana from bodies. Yeah, right, exactly. Well, you know what's funny, though? Because it'll actually work effectively as ramp. So if we do go the Hoarding Broodlord route, what if the spell we were trying to cast was like, well, I mean, if we're going that route, what I'm essentially saying is you can make 2 mana removal, hit something that costs 3, and then you get 3 on the back end for any sort of convoked, like exiled convoked thing with your Broodlord. I don't know if Convoke's gonna come out anywhere else, but I mean, these bodies are going to stay. No one's going to deal with the sapperlings if we just do that early game, and we'll just have the sapperlings for whenever we need them. Maybe we find more synergies for these bodies, because it's not like Slimefoot and Squee. We're not always going to be popping off, and then we could potentially use those bodies, the ones we're getting off of the attack, to do things as well. Put a green sapperling creature token into play, blocking target creature attacking you. Aw, sad guy. Flash foliage, that's cool. We're not going to do that, though. Fungal Rebirth. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. We should probably add Eternal Witness, by the way. That just made me think of a really good card. If a creature died this turn, create 2 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens. That's not impossible, but it's not good. Not at 3. The -1/1 on your turn, create a sapperling creature token. That's kind of cool. I mean, this basically just nukes a dork, and then you get to make a sapperling. That's not bad. I don't think it's great. What, Deathrite Shaman? What else does it hit? Is Deathrite Shaman a 2/1, a 1/2, or a 1/1? I don't remember. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 green sapperling token. Huh. Again, it's not like we don't have the ways to get the sapperling back when we need it, but and I basically mean just like casting Reanimate on Slimefoot and Squee, or Animate Dead, or anything really that's going to bring it back. But exile a target creature card from a graveyard, create a 1/1 sapperling. I can't help but feel that there's some form of combo with this thing, but I'm not going to delve that hard into sapperling synergy. I just want to see if there's useful spells that also coincidentally make sapperlings. Like that's the goal. Discard a card from your hand and make a sapperling. Any player may play this ability. Ooh, that could be deadly. I kind of like that though, because obviously the discard effect is useful. If it was just discard, make a 1/1, then like totally. The fact that we got to pay 1, it's still good. It just lets you dump the reanimate target, right? And it's also giving you, there's no way. Like, does someone Chain of Vapor Slimefoot and Squee? In what world are you gonna have to worry about? Because that's sort of like an auto setup, right? Like then you discard Slimefoot and Squee, you're like, haha, you thought you got me with that chain, and then you get the sapperling, and then you sack the sapperling, and you bring 2 really crazy things back from your grave. It's a little too cute, but I like it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring you. Sapperlings are my all-time favorite deck themes. Let me know if there's any Feegle Snorf. Let me know if there's any cool sapperling tech that you're aware of that works well in a commander setting. Not even cEDH setting, just commander in general. What kind of Saproling synergy are you looking at normally in a 99 card singleton list? I'm curious. There's also sap that lets you eat saps for mana. I think it's awful though. I mean, again, like a Cryptolith Rite would be really cool. Like all your creatures have the ability to tap, add 1 mana of any color. That's kind of cool just as ramp, right? So let's just say you Slimefoot and Squee and you have, we can look at Cryptolith Rites in a second. Obviously, them being summoning sick is still an issue for this, but you're just going to be making them every turn. So it's essentially like a 2 mana very bad dork, but then progressively better the longer Slimefoot and Squee is just out and tapping and attacking. You only need to tap and attack to make the thing. So it could even be a bad attack. Don't do that. Don't do that. Spore Swarm. I'm just giving these a quick once over. You know the deal. Not every one of these is going to be essential. By the way, I was thinking it would be really cool to use Slimefoot and Squee as a Entomb target in a Tana the Bloodsower. Because of the, like a buried alive target, as a matter of fact, because of the nature of Tana the Bloodsower, her making Saprolings in your like blood pod list, it's probably a different variation of a Tana Timna, if we're being honest, but that pairing would be really cool with a buried alive Slimefoot and Squee setup. Just a thought. Only because you're making the Saprolings to make it work naturally. You don't need to think about, you know, casting Slimefoot and Squee. In this instance, we don't need to worry about that because we, you know, it's in the command zone. But at any rate. Wow. It's a 1-2 for Deathrite Shaman. Thank you, Nibiru. Bloodblade. Aye, Pat, live with magic content. Yeah, it's true. With magic content. What's the specificity there? You know, it's funny. You wouldn't care. You wouldn't care. But the limited resource box and the planes, both one-piece decks. Almost, I've been killing it with some off-meta stuff. Okay, so I built a Whitebeard deck, and Whitebeard's pretty ridiculous in OPO2. But the other deck, I kind of want to live stream some gameplay for that game, just to give myself an opportunity to play it more. But I've been kicking so much ass with Sakazuki. Anyways, it's a fun game. I love all of the TCGs, but obviously I have a soft spot for Magic. I think we're gonna go bar minimum. We're gonna go with Artifact Mutation. Like, that is not bad. I mean, the ceiling, as we were talking about it earlier, the ceiling is hitting someone's Bolas's Citadel, and you feel like a real boss. The floor is hitting, I don't know, like a Grim Monolith. Is that even bad? Like, a lot of people early cast Grim Monolith just to have it, and then you could just force them to use it off turn, right? Unless it like fuels their ad nauseam prematurely. But you can put them in a real poop spot. I can say that. One with nothing for discard. Ben Rubens with the best suggestion. How about Victimize, since you get 2 bodies on entry? So yeah, Victimize, we can look at that really quick. So Victimize is another bring a thing back. Choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return those creature cards to the battlefield tapped. So obviously this is like a buried alive thing. And you can sacrifice a Saproling to do this. And it's a more or less the same cost as Slimefoot and Squee's regenerate ability. I'm just going to call it that. It's a lot less demanding on the colored pips, but it's 4 versus 3. It's a slot in the deck. I'm a little iffy on that one. I will do, because we mentioned it earlier, I will do the Burnt Offering, and I will do Sacrifice. Make sure I didn't add another Sacrifice earlier. I feel like I did for some reason. No, I'm a liar. Okay. It will do a quick rundown of anything for us newcomers having missed it. Bloodblade, just that we're gonna win with Dockside Extortionist. Never seen that before, right? Well, we might use Dockside Extortionist for infinite mana, and we might go a route of play that utilizes Underworld Breach. Maybe use Corvold the Fey Curse as a reanimator target. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like for drawing. Well, we got the Skull Clamp. We don't need that. Yo, that would be nice. Old as a hidden commander. Okay, okay. You guys have seen Corvold the Jund dragon, maybe. Whenever Corvold enters the battlefield or attack, sacrifice another permanent. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, I'll put a +1/+1 counter on Corvold. That's less relevant for us, really. The draw is nice. Okay, so the idea being, in a world where you've made infinite treasures, you just sacrifice them, and then obviously the benefit being all of the sweet, sweet draw. It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't know. I'm gonna let's do Peer into the Abyss. Or do we just flat out use Ad Nauseam off of our... I feel like we're gonna just use Ad Nauseam off of our Hoarding Broodlord play. I could be wrong, but there's one which turns all saps into lands. I think that's, well, I mean, I'll just look up Cryptolith Rights now. I think this is how you spell it. Nope, I definitely forgot a letter there. How about this? How about this? How about cry? Right. So close. Cryptolith Right for 1 generic and a green. Can you read it? Enchantment. Creatures you control have tap. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is what I was thinking is really cool as a form of ramp. Like if you have a deck that just makes bodies, it just makes sense to me. You know, if I played Najeela, this might be tech I use. I know that would probably be like scoffed at, like, what is so slow? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like I've definitely slowed the shit down. Slowed the shit down for Najeela list. Like you could certainly punish a Najeela list that way. And they could bounce back with like a mess of mana in their colors, right? And do their thing. I feel like Cryptolith Right is probably used for her activated ability, as a matter of fact, but I've never seen it leveraged. There's probably just too much redundancy. Anyways, I just realized that I need a carpet of flowers. Need? Yeah, I want it. In Commander, for Sapros, in general, the idea is to get a lot of stuff that puts spore counters on themselves and then start proliferating. But generally, Tendershoot Dryad and Mycoloth are interesting. Okay. Utopia Mycon is the one which eats saps for mana. Utopia Mycon. Okay. Utopia Mycon. Let me know if this is tech used in... I feel like... I know Ernesto played Najeela a lot, and I don't remember ever seeing Cryptolith Right. Again, maybe it's just slow. There's probably just an effect that says tap this thing and do it, and I don't know it. Utopia Mycon, bloopity bloop, sacrifice sapling, add 1 mana of any color. That's really good. It also happens to be a creature. So you can Green Sun Zenith this and just have Utopia Mycon. This makes a whole lot of sense. Got the synergy. I wish it was sacrifice, excuse me, a fungus, and then you could do even more with it, but let me just put Utopia Mycon for now. You know, is it essential? Are we really using it like that? I don't know. I'll put it in the sideboard. How about that? Squee should be buried alive target for sure. Yeah. I could totally see that. I really, well, as we were talking about, happy to catch a live. Hey, bye. Loved your old content. Very happy for the new stuff and your diversification. Me too. Podcast this weekend. Last podcast was very good. I enjoyed it. I definitely need to refine the formula, but we're going to be working on more castage here. And hopefully with guest, just shooting the breeze on TCGs. Can we combo to creatures the win in the can we combo to creatures the win in this list? We can combo to a win in this list with creatures. Yeah. Goblin Bombardment for sack damage. There's one that changed Saprolings into lands, but also turns lands into Saprolings, making your mana vulnerable to a board wipe. Oh, yeah. Is Earthcraft good for this deck? So Earthcraft's an interesting one. We can look at it really quick, and then we can sort of consider our outlets, because we don't have one right now. I'm sorry. I told you we would look at Earthcraft. I sold my Earthcraft, so I'm not using it. There you go. Tap untapped creature you control, untap target basic land. Because we only have 6 basic lands, Maybe not, but if you were using a land base that was more forgiving, then yes. Namata for playing against graveyards could be nice. Namata. What's Namata with you? Which one? I'm going to assume the new one. I'm going to look at the new one. Primeval Warden. Read amongst yourselves. I'm going to read. That's really cool. But you're saying Namata for playing against graveyards. Like this Namata? Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. May I recommend looking at Tendershoot Dryad? Yes. And Michaeloff. Yeah, we'll look at that. At the beginning of each upkeep, okay. If we have the city's blessing, we have an army of 3/3s. It's maybe a little slow for what we want to do here, but I like it for a Saproling specific build. I do like it a lot. And Michaeloff. Devour 2. I love that keyword. I wish there were better Devour abilities. And we'll see if this one's good. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 Saproling token for each +1/+1 counter on Michaeloff. That's not bad. Both of these are very Saproling specific and good in that sense. But I do think we're going to go just with the one Saproling generator. And let's just take a step back and look at what we have going here. I could see exactly, like Tendershoot Dryad is a classic stack win con. I feel like if we were going a slower route with this list, and you could certainly consider that this would be a cool way to go. Get the city's blessing and smack face with a bunch of Saprolings. Although I feel like Tana is probably better in that regard for just this Saproling generation in general. But it is cool for that effect. So knowing that, we're using Imperial Recruiter. So Imperial Recruiter and Goblin Matron are kind of playing a dual role here. They both want to do the same thing. They want to grab our Skirk Prospector, sack both of these things, and then find a Dockside Extortionist, right? They both do the same thing, except one is Goblin specific and then one is 2 power or less. So far as outs are concerned, with this particular strategy, I'm trying to think if there's a creature outlet that can serve a dual role, like is not just in the list as an outlet. Because I gotta tell you, I hate adding cards that have like just a single purpose. And you could say, yeah, Mog Fanatics, you know, he's only really existing in this list, or would exist in the list as an outlet, but he's also good at pinging the dork. Like, sure, that's like one thing you can do with it, but that's not, I don't know, I'm just not keen on that. So I kind of want to find an out that does more and is still low to the ground, because again, ad nauseam is very real. I feel like this deck has a strong case for being a non-white stacks deck, since it has so much interesting inherent resilience, and doesn't want to run a bunch of non-creatures which cheap counters target. I could see that. I mean, honestly, I'm building a fast version of this list, or at least what's set up in front of us here is a quicker version. Maybe a separate take, and I'm not going to suggest we do it unless we really enjoy this commander. A definite separate take here would be a stacks version of this, and I don't see why not. Like, we're making bodies as we're going along, and we have a really cool reanimate spell. Provided we don't use any stacks that hates on our own sort of grave interaction, then we're good. Is Tamir Sabertooth good for this deck? I actually missed what this deck is doing. Sorry, I'm late. I mean, Tamir Sabertooth makes infinite mana with Dockside Extortionist, so sure. Like, it's good in that sense, right? I wish it's crazy to me that I checked out and then I come back to this game and this is still like the de facto back to hand in green, and as a matter of fact, Jund. Is there nothing better than Tamir Sabertooth? I just feel sad that this is all we got. I mean, it's cool that we got the Year of the Tiger edition, though. Check that out. We could use that. We can use that version. So sure, I mean, yeah, it's like protection, and it's also coupled with the fact that you make infinite mana. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily the way we need to go, though. Definitely think you consider Hermit Druid. Oh. Right. You know what's funny? We need to get rid of our basic lands, but I've never really done a Hermit Druid line. I like Hermit Druid when there's white, when you have Savine's Reclamation to leverage, but we can still... Okay. What's the best way to pull the thing from the graveyard in Jund to do the thing? If there's something that we would want to leverage with Hermit Druid here. How about Valentin Dean of the Vein for Mog? There's that white enchantment and the blue cat, but yeah, not really. Yeah, it's so annoying. For instead of Mog, Valentin... Nope, not dead. Let's just do Valentin. See what comes up. I just love this face Valentin is making. Are we all looking at this? Can I get closer? This weird smirk. It's just... What a weirdo. Menace lifelink 1/1. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. When you do, you may pay 2. If you do, I'm assuming it's on the back. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control in they gain trample as like a finisher. We would need to make more bodies for that to work, for sure. Dread Return, like a Hermit Druid Dread Return witch creature. I mean, Dread Return works here, kinda, right? The fact that we're making creatures, like, we'll have the bodies to do the thing, right? Dread Return equals Savine's Reclamation? Kinda. Any case for Underworld Breach in this deck? Yeah, there's a ton. I don't know if it's a quick enough for cEDH since it needs setup for Exile to escape, but could be a good backup mass reanimation outlet. I think it makes sense. It's the thing I'm leading on the most to keep this quick. Ugh. Okay. Assuming I'm not misunderstanding the deck because I joined recently, Golgari Germination would work. Golgari Germ. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a... I liked this one. I was looking at it. I think that it makes sense because we want the Saprolings to be made, but let me just put the Golgari Germination on the sideboard, and then let's go ahead and just add our tutors and get all that out of the way. Germination. And I think we're going to add the package here for Underworld Breach. And then we can walk through how that line of play would work and how we would use Praetor's Grasp to win. We don't have an outlet for our current build, though. That's the only thing I'm trying to resolve. So, in all likelihood, it could just be Mog Fanatic. I would recommend finding a better outlet that could exist in this list, but yeah. Well, with Druid in your commander, you can find a win, right? Or Druid and Dread, you can also find your creature line, right? Sack and Slimefoot seems like the play. It is. 'Tis the play. So let's just add our toots really quick. Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, Diabolic Tutor. Oh, hey, not just Diabolic. Tutor, up, Wishclaw, Talisman, that's a good one. We want Entomb. We want what did I say off the bat like a billion times? The other one, Unmarked Grave, because that hits our Hoarding Broodlord. We also want I'm not putting Peer into the Abyss in here solely because I would say if we did the Sax route and we did a Hoarding Broodlord reanimation strategy, I would go for PETA. But because Ad Nauseam sort of the better end of the package here with this sort of light build, we're going to want to consider just PETA and not another really high costed spell. Can always go the classic Altar of Dementia combo, I guess. This is true. Make mana, win through Starburns. Starburns? Is this a community reference? There's also the original Slimefoot for flavor. We can look at the original Slimefoot because I forget, like it's an outlet, right? Like, right. Whenever sapling you control die, Slimefoot stowaway deals one damage to each opponent. Yeah, I mean, it's technically an outlet. And it is recruitable. Hold up. I mean, here's my thing with Slimefoot the Stowaway. Why I like it. I mean, again, it feels like it's part of a slower package because of how, you know, high costed that effect is. It's like Thrasios levels of mana for a Saproling instead of a draw on a potential land, right? But it does do the thing. And again, you can Imperial recruit it. Though Goblin Matron has nothing to say about that situation. Adnos is bad, use Tainted Pact instead. We're using both, Christopher. We're using both. Do you mean Adnos is bad in the sense, no, Gamble's not here. But it is now. There's also the original Slimefoot. Man, I know. I like the original Slimefoot. I'm gonna put the original Slimefoot in here. The Slimefoot survey. What is that? Look at Slimefoot, his little telescope. That's so cute. Slimefoot's a cute dude. Can we agree? Fun guys don't. I don't know what. Slimefoot's cute. That's what I'm trying to say. What's up, guys? I just turned in. Are we building goblins or saprolings? Lamar, we are doing a mix of just a handful. So some saproling synergy, some goblin synergy, but then, with Commander, at least in a cEDH setting, the rest of the deck is just all the other stuff to make the one plan or, one or two plans work. So yeah, we're doing a mix. Since we're in green and our combo pieces are creatures, any case for not using many black tutors and focusing on green creatures ones exclusively. So my only qualm is that, I'm not even considering really Green Sun Zenith because the creatures we really want are, again, like the Goblin Matron and the Imperial Recruiter, because they will find the line of play for us, right? And they're red, so Green Sun Zenith doesn't feel that great. But finale of keeps hitting my hand. Okay, Finale of Devastation, Invasion of Ikoria. Am I wrong? Invasion of Ikoria. One's non-human. Invasion of Ikoria. The green creature tutors, yes, we want to incorporate a bunch of them, along with our Imperial Seal. I still think the black tutors are essential though, because we're going to want to include the package that incorporates Underworld Breach as a backup line. And again, we can talk through that in a second, because that's sort of what your Ad Naus is building up towards. Praetor's Grasp. Any other green tutors that you want to incorporate, please let me know. I've only added a handful here. Finale of Devastation, Invasion of Icorian, Worldly Tutor. Let me know what those are. I'm happy to include them. Like Survival of the Fittest, I guess. Right? I mean, it's a discard, right? It's funny. I've only used Survival of the Fittest in Savala. Discard a creature card. We don't have that many creature cards. But Green Sun for pieces 3 CMC or less. Slimefoot's lore is just that he showed up on the Weatherlight as an unnoticed janitor, and now he's an important member to the lore. Is that true? I kind of love that. He was just born near the Power Stone from one of Multani's spores and just decided to stay there and make a family, and now he's the best man. Collector Oof is a card. Because we're trying to win the sick, disgusting, dirty way of many players with Dockside Extortionist, and there's nothing wrong with that. we're not gonna go with Collector Roof. As a matter of fact, we're not gonna add any stacks. We will add interaction though, mind you, like a Tybalt's Trickery or Deflecting Swat. Deflecting Sway. Deadly Rollick. Pyroblast, all of the stuff I mentioned earlier, like the obvious stuff that you would want to incorporate in your list. A Red Elemental Blast. And then there's also Imp's Mischief that I really like. These are some fairly obvious cards. Fork, I really like Fork. I really like Reverberate when you're outside of blue. Like the copy spells are quite good. They're also good for copying value from your opponents. Like for the 2 red you're paying here, they're always good in my opinion. Natural Order maybe? Is Natural Order the... Well, sacrifice a green creature? If our big creature was green, right? Because Hoarding Broodlord's black, I'd say no. But obviously we have like a Sapperling to sacrifice to this. So if you guys can find a good excuse for it, then maybe. Natural Order, Pat, since you can sack Slimefoot, same with Diabolic Intent. Except it's to the battlefield. Actually, Natural Order finds our Slimefoot the stowaway. If we just want to get to our outlet. If we've made infinite mana, it will get to the outlet. But that's maybe a little silly. Is Tybalt's Trickery a non-blue staple for you as well? I always run it if I'm not in blue. So Bloodblade. We're actually doing a video, and I should talk to the writer about this. We're talking about like staple cards or cards that aren't necessarily staples in the broad sense, like usable in every deck, but like pseudo staples, cards that you effectively use if you're not in X colors, or you'll predominantly use in this deck archetype, those staple cards. And I would say Tybalt's Trickery is, yeah, I mean, I use it in every red list that's not also, is it? You know what I mean? Like if it's not in blue, I'll definitely consider it. I feel like I'm missing a few green tutors. Sorry, I didn't hear the bit about Adnaz because of work. Christopher, you need to just tell your boss that you don't have time for the work. You need to just put everything down and focus on the stream, okay? This only happens once in a blue moon for us, okay? I thought I didn't want to have this talk live, but do you want me to call your boss? I'll call your boss. I'll just make it happen. Sorry, Ad Nauseam? Yeah, just draw your deck, do things. I wanted to put the monkey. Hold up. Oh, there's so many cards I want to add. What is the Ragavan? Ragavan. I feel like there's more to that name than just that. Ragavan. Ragamuffin. No, that one. Pest Tribal. Natural Order into Witherbloom Apprentice. So Witherbloom's like the way to go when you're in Golgari, and it certainly could be the way to go here. Like if we wanted to add a Underworld Breach package that led into a Witherbloom Apprentice, Chain of Smog, but those 2 cards probably wouldn't necessarily be cast in this list otherwise, so they would just be there for the combo. Is Chain of Smog combo in as well? No, it's not. It's not. Court of Calling and Invasion of Ikoria. So we have the Invasion of Ikoria, but Court of Calling, sir. I like Court of Calling. Razakets would also be clutch, except we're on Hoarding Broodlord. Okay? The Elder Dragon. This is EDH. Which Elder Dragon? Which Elder Dragon do you want? But yeah, Razakets would have been clutch if I wasn't all about Hoarding Broodlord. I gotta just spread the word. Hoarding Broodlord's where it's at. Trust me, people. You want the Hoarding Broodlord. We're gonna do Reanimate. We're gonna do... So how many Reanimate spells do we need is the real question. Animate, Dead. Corpse. Dance also works in this deck, and we can talk about why. Dance of the Dead. Eternal Witness. I'm just gonna add all the good cards I can think of. Eternal Witness. Noxious Revival. All the green staples. Go. Nature's Claim. No, I don't like Nature's Claim. I like the other one. I don't like Nature's Claim. Oh, what am I doing? I'm in Golgari. Assassin's Trophy. What's wrong with me? Assassin's Trophy. And the other one that no one cares about anymore, Abrupt Decay. Promptly outshined. Entomb, Reanimate, and Terrazaketh or Villas is a combination with Pain Lands. I like Villas with Pain Lands for sure. Right, and Crop Rotation. Talking about those Pain Lands. Obviously, there are other ways to get there, but we also have a Lake of the Dead that I want to potentially consider, as well as the Phyrexian Tower, because that's decent ramp when we're making Saproings. Okay. There's a lot more Phyrexians than I realized. You can pay 10 and reanimate Squee in the same turn. Which, the Elder Dragon, which one? Timeless Witness, 2. Since it can be milled and used over Eternal Witness. Timeless Witness. Is this a new card? Have I just ignored this? This is older. This is older. What's this? Okay. Enters the battlefield. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Eternalize. You can make it as like a zombie, right? I saw this card. Create a token that's a copy of this card. Oh, that's really cool. I actually really like this. I mean, Underworld Breach kind of makes it moot, but I like the fact that we could make... If we mill this off of a grinding station, like an early grinding station, then yeah, it could be used late game off of like a mess of mana to get the thing you need. It's a sorcery speed thing though, right? It's kind of cool. It's obviously one more in cost than Ewit because of the Eternalize fact, but I like it. Boggart Harbinger. Harbinger? Right? And this is just it's the other one. Comes to play when you search your library for a goblin, reveal it. You know what? Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as Goblin Matron. We could put that in the main. Goblin. I'm sorry, it's not Goblin. Bogart. Harbinger. The answer is yes. We will include that. Okay. It's weirdly good. I mean, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's not even weirdly good. It's just good. We might be over 37% competitive, they say. We'll show them. I want to state that we're not really on any dorks. Before we proceed, I will state that like a Deathrite Shaman minimum would be nice. And I like Utopia Sprawl, although it has to be a forest, right? Wild growth minimum. Let's put those. They're just less susceptible to nonsense than, your creatures might be. But I read your comment about Skullwinder. We can look at Skullwinder. When Skullwinder enters the battlefield, return target card from a graveyard to your hand, then choose an opponent. Yeah, I remember this. It's the friendly Ewit. It's the group hug Ewit, kind of. I think that's one of the topics that we want to cover on our podcast this weekend, just discussing group hug decks and the general strategy, like their place at the table. I mean, this is, more broadly, you can consider this a group hug because it's giving someone a thing, like an exhume, right? Yeah, everyone put a creature from their graveyard. Okay, we've got a lot going on here and we've got a lot to edit. So let's just take a look at the deck, and then I want to go over how the general strategy of this list, like what's going to happen here for people that had come in late. And just to refresh myself, because we're leveraging artifact rocks because it's going to be the color fixing to do things while we're playing through a storm turn, right? And they're usable on the cast, unlike an Arbor Elf or Elvish Mystic, all that stuff, right? Because Ad Nauseam kind of feeds off of these more so than anything else, and that's why I said off the beginning, if you weren't here, probably consider a Grim Monolith because it will help propel you into the colored mana that these are making. But all of that aside, we're going to need to cut some cards. So we will need to cut 6 cards. In this deck, Ad Nauseam is going to go into a handful of things. So when I'm doing this, if I see lines of play open up for this card. If I see something like an Entomb, Reanimate line with my Hoarding Broodlord, and I see a way to saw it in half, right? Or like I have the tutor to saw it in half, then I can, you know, easily stop there, right? If I pull into those solutions, I have that. If I pull into Dockside Extortionist, the thing I need max is a sack outlet, right? I need to kill Slimefoot and Squee, and I need to kill Dockside Extortionist. One thing I'll say about this list right now is that our only sack creature thing is Skirk Prospector. And Skirk Prospector, arguably the best for this. Sorry, my face is covering it for you guys. But Skirk Prospector, arguably the best for this because it's searchable, but it also sacrifices a goblin, which happens to be Slimefoot and Squee, and then also Dockside Extortionist. If there are other sacrifice creature cards you can consider that aren't meh, like you could make a case for like a Carrion Feeder or any other, the Viserys here, any other low to the ground, sacrifice the thing creature. I would prefer that they also generated mana. Like if there's something new that I don't know about, please let me know in that regard. But only having one sack outlet kind of sucks. Let's just do that really quick. I just want to look up creatures before we actually determine that this is the right thing. Sacrifice. You know, it could even say sacrifice with the cost associated with it, because Dockside Extortionist in the line of play we're discussing is going to generate treasures to generate mana. So it could be sacrifice creature or sacrifice permanent. I don't really know what's out there. So we're going to keep it low, and we're just going to look at the low end of the field here. Okay. Y'all got lands figured out yet? Yeah, Christopher. Yeah, I do. I don't know why. I grew up in Virginia, and y'all always just makes me think of Virginia for some reason. So pardon the dumb, loose Virginian accent. But yeah, lands are figured for the most part. I am on a tainted pack sort of high right now. I gotta get the most out of my tainted packs. And I decided to go with single lands. So that's that. Phyrexian Altar. I want to be able to find it with our creature tutors, right? Wait, why Ragavan in this deck? Like, what does it add to the game plan other than being a 1-drop to contribute to early board game? We can cut it. We can cut it. To me, Ragavan is just as good as any other form of ramp you can think about in the 1 slot. Like, I will, if we wanted, like, if someone was suggesting right now to take Ragavan out for a dork, then I would say no, leave Ragavan, right? In the off chance that we don't get Ragavan down before the Imperial Seal, we can dash into whatever they just put on top of their deck, right? Odds are likely we're going to deal damage to that person. Usually bodies aren't that. There's always going to be someone you can swing at, especially early game. He doesn't add much to the package elsewise. I mean, if we pull it late, it's just as bad as any other dork, but it's the best dork. It's easily the best dork in my book. And usually it gets hit by like a removal spell. So you can also say it's just a magnet for that. But we don't need it. We could get rid of it. I like it a lot, but we can remove it. Please not Mog Fanatic. Yeah, no, I don't want Mog Fanatic. I'm sorry. You were making suggestions. Yahenni is a free creature sack outlet, 3 mana, 2 slow, low cost. Let me look up Yahenni after we look through the list, but I'm with you. Yeah, Raga's Disruption. Let me, I'll start a poll. I'm curious. Do we Ragavan? Generally speaking, in red, it's like, I wouldn't say it's a reason you go into red, right? But of all the things that red has gotten in recent date, it's really one of the best things to me. And it's sort of a, I wouldn't say it's a staple in every list, but it's pretty good in every list it's in. But I'll leave it to you guys. If you want to take it out, we'll take it out. Sacrifice land, sacrifice an artifact or lands. Nope, none of these things. We're looking just very briefly over these to see if there's a sacrifice another thing benefit. Sacrifice food. I know that. Sacrifice Death Cultist. And then I want to look up the creature you suggested with Yahenni. But I'm sorry, Will. I didn't mean to ignore your suggestions there. For if you want a Gobbo win, I'd recommend Ember Hauler, Pashalik Mons. I don't know, like Kikijiki, if we're trying to add NAUSEAM. Goro Goro, Torch Carrier can get you a win. Torch Courier is just the one that gives you haste, right? Is that the suggestion? Are you suggesting we somehow make infinite saplings? I'll consider the Torch Courier if there's a cleaner line. You can put SNS in the CZ to get infinite sap. So right, okay, cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Ultimately, after you've made infinite mana, you can make infinite saps. Totally agree with that. Just please not Mog Fanatic. I mean, Mog Fanatic's the straightest course of action, but I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I do hate it, so I'm happy to switch. That card, I wholeheartedly agree. We do not necessarily need Mog Fanatic. Sacrifice a token. Glimmer Baron. I love Nils Hom art, but there's no excuse to be using Glimmer Baron. But I see those suggestions. We could definitely consider any one of those. I think Pashalik Mons is maybe the one I'm most interested in, and or Slimefoot Stowaway. I like Slimefoot. It doesn't have to be Goblin, but obviously we have 2 Goblin Finders at the 3 CMC range, so it makes the most sense. Sacrifice an artifact. Never mind. That dream was shot down very early. There you go, the best of the best right there, Mog Fanatic. Rag's about to be cheap anyways. Yeah, Rag is disruption. Rag's about to be cheap. Oh, with the reprint. Oh, so is Ramp? Makes sense. I was genuinely asking. I just didn't see why. But that makes a lot of sense. It's one of those things I just put in every deck. Probs about to be like 25 bucks. Are they really that expensive still? Again, it's been a while since I've bought singles, so that's crazy to me. Put a colon after the thing you want. So I don't know what the thing is. Like I don't want to say creature, or I don't want to say permanent, because maybe there's a new card that I've just not seen before. So I'm trying to keep it broad, right? We can use Scorched Rusalka, but it's more or less the same thing, right? Sacrifice this creature, draw a card, and back up 1. We could draw our deck. It's kind of cute with the backup ability, and that's actually possible. Again, we're trying to find a solution to maybe this does make sense, because look, Scorched Rusalka is not only an outlet, it's not a goblin, so Imperial Recruiter is the only one that can find Scorched Rusalka, sadly, but it will work with the Dockside Extortionist and Squee and Slimefoot line perfectly, because it will not only sacrifice them, but kill your opponents. I don't hate Scorched Rusalka. Put that in the maybe slot. Oh my god, Tinderwall. Oh, all these cards I love that I've just forgot to add. Yeah, we're going to put Tinderwall in. Why? Because it's Rite of Flame. Tinderwall. The other thing is Tinderwall. I didn't even put the spirit guides. Oh my god, I didn't even put the spirit guides. Hold up. Spirit guide. Simeon spirit guide. Again, this is supposed to be the fast version of the deck. We'll see how fast. We'll see how actually fast this is. But let's do. I'll do your Pashalik Mons. Right, put that in there. To sack, give haste. Yep. Conspicuous Snoop combo is always a thing. Goblin Chirurgeon is another gobbo that sacks. It also protects your stuff. Rags is like 55 bucks right now. What? Carrion Feeder and MDFC Fling, maybe? I like the card, to be honest. You liked Scorched Rusalka? Is there better art? I mean, the art's really good. The art's good enough. Oh, wait, didn't we side Utopium Icon? It doesn't kill, it only kills Saprolings. So it won't kill Dockside, sadly. Never mind. I got really excited there. I'm like, that's another way to make mana. Kinda, not. There's gotta be, I'm holding it in my heart. There's gotta be another creature that sacrifices things to make mana. or kills things. Okay, so here's what's harming the search. Because a majority of the stuff that's doing the thing, they kind of need to be goblins, right? They kind of need to be searchable goblins. Okay. Obviously, Skirk Prospector is the best of the lot, but let me just see what else is in here really quick. And we can consider also, we're going to take Mog Fanatic out. Okay, I'm with all of you on that. We're gonna take it out. And Chirurgeon was the other suggestion as a regenerator. I kind of like Goblin Chirurgeon. There's some really quirky art from Fallen Empires for this card too. We can add that. We'll actually main board it. That's how much I like it. Goblin Chirurgeon. I own a copy of Thanos, the Sharpshooter, Goblin Sharpshooter. Goblin Sharpshooter. Goblin Sharpshooter's slow though, right? Am I wrong? I'm trying to avoid Kiki-Jiki. No offense to Kiki-Jiki, but I'm not trying to go for anything like that. And I feel like Sharpshooter was a part of that line. Am I mistaken? Let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong. Sacrifice a creature. Oh, wait, no, Trudgeon just sacrifices himself, though, right? Is it really just a goblin? Wow, okay, that's cool. So I haven't used Goblin Trudgeon in a minute, but I feel like it was always there to sacrifice itself for the most part. At least in the decks I played it. Sacrifice artifacts. Ooh, that's cool. Clan Stoker's really cool. It clearly doesn't really do what we needed to do here, but it is cool nonetheless. Okay, so destroys our artifacts. We have two other things that win the game. You were suggesting Pashlik Mons and Ember Hauler. I don't know off the top of my head. I might have just missed this there. It deals 2 damage to any target. You like this better than Mog Fanatic, huh? And Goro. Let me do Goro really quick. Oh, that's cute. Create a red dragon. Oh, that's really cool, actually. Activate only if you control attacking modified creature. Oh, that is so obnoxious. That is so obnoxious. Wait, is there a good way to modify in this deck? Not really. Wow, you really just stunted Goro pretty hard. That's so upsetting. Yeah, okay. I like Ember. I mean, Ember Hauler is just another way of saying Mog Fanatic, right? Can we be honest with each other? Isn't this just another way of saying Mog Fanatic, except it's one more off the ad nauseum? I understand the dislike of Mog Fanatic. It's as much as I hate Mog Fanatic, but it's just not better. Goblin Sharpshooter, though, it does require haste enabling, so we would need a package that haste enables. How about Metamorphosis? Oh, is another, yeah, I like Metamorphosis. If you guys have not seen this, I think it only goes into creature casting, though. Yeah, we're not going to use Metamorphosis. I do want to use the, it's Gruel. It's cruel and it makes redder. It makes, you draw a card and you make mana of any color and it's cruel. It's a green card. It's red and green. Manamorphose. That's what you made me think of. On a storm turn, it could make sense. Is it of actual value? I can't say. Do you have Birthing Pod in this deck? Could include a small package to get more use out of the one-time ETB creatures. You can modify with Ivy League Denizen, but it is slow. Yeah. Again, I would say some of the packages that we've been discussing for the last few here are maybe includes in a stacks version of the deck. Sharpshooter triggers on any unalive, right? I believe so, yes. Okay, so it's time. It's time. We need to make some cuts, peeps. We should be making some cuts here. We got to make 11 cuts. So again, there's 2 lines of play: a fast ad nauseam into the biggest storm, and I might even just for the sake of the argument, I might just take this. I don't like the signets as much as I like the talismans. I'm gonna take the signets out just to make life a little bit easier. I think at 17 artifacts will be okay for the Mox Opal. It's really just there for the storm. We've got 1 battle, sure. We've got, I mean, Mox Opal will pop when we get our Dockside Extortionist, sure. We've got Hoarding Broodlord into a Saw in half into a Ad Nauseam Sacrifice, or better yet, Burnt Offering. I'm going to just nix the Sacrifice to give us the space. We need to remove 7 more cards, because I would rather go for Burnt Offering 10 out of 10 times. The Boggart is a little too much of a redundancy. Because the play lines are really reliant on goblins here, and we don't even have, I mean, we don't have the win con. Okay. So we were considering Slimefoot as a potential win, right? Whenever Slimefoot Stowaway dies, it's a win. So we can find Slimefoot with Imperial Recruiter, and we can find Pashalik Mons with the other one. I almost feel like, is this the right one? Whenever Pashalik Mons or another goblin you control dies, Pashalik Mons deals 1 damage to any target. Okay, so obviously this is a win con in and of itself. It's doing the same thing Slimefoot and Squee is, except it's easier to get to with our deck. I'm going to take Imperial Recruiter out because it's a 3 CMC tutor and we have better ones in the deck. And I'm just going to keep the goblins in here because we have the Matron and we have the Harbinger to do the lines of play that are concerned with goblins. Okay, that's done. Wild Growth is also ramp. Wild Growth is fine. Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, and Reanimate are all in the list. And they're all for our Hoarding Broodlord. I'll state we've got a lot of things going on. We can probably just rely on 1 enchantment, 1 reanimate spell, and call it a day, so long as we have 2 of those. Carpet of Flowers is always good, and Wild Growth is nice because it enchants any lands. Like it. Oh, stop with your good suggestions. Eldritch Evolution. Get your Eldritch Evolution out of here. Obviously, Eldritch Evolution off of our Ragavan into our Goblin Matron makes a whole lot of sense, okay? Obviously. That's why it's in the deck. Ignore the fact that it's not in the deck right now, but Eldritch Evolution was always in the deck, okay? And the thing is, we could really just use anything off of Eldritch Evolution and get that, but what's nice is that Eldritch Evolution will hit our lowest of lows. Oh, except for the Sapperling. If we Eldritch Evolution a Sapperling, we're not going to get the Goblin Matron, but we will get a Dockside, so it's still really good. Oh, it's such a good card. If you want to lean into Nas, I think Torch Courier is better than Pashalik Mons. Makes infinite Sapperlings. Only because it's lower to the ground, and I agree with you. So I want to consider adding. So we need to keep, okay, for a fact, we need to keep, at least in my mind, there has to be at least 2 outs. So it's both Goblin Chirurgeon and Skirk Prospector feel necessary. You never know what can happen. Maybe one gets exiled. I want the both outs for sacrifice a creature. In this instance, sacrifice a goblin. I will state that I like the Torch Courier more as an outlet because it is lower to the ground, and we're probably going to be emphasizing an ad nauseam play more over anything else. So moving on, we need to cut till we're down to 99, so we need to cut 6 cards. Do we have Gamble? I think so. You can cut Bogart. It puts Goblin to the top, not the hand, so it's way slower. Who suggested Bogart? Who suggested Bogart? Now, yeah, you're right. I feel like there was a reason I didn't put this card in initially. Yeah, that's I don't want that. Well, okay. So we might need Imperial Recruiter again. Still trying to cut 6 cards. Okay. So we need some interaction because we're not that filthy greedy. This is really just for the Storm turn, but Metamorphose is just a good card. That's another one of those pseudo staples in my book. Obviously, not every deck's gonna want this, but just like filtering colors and replacing itself, so good. To me, so good. We need these. We need Noxious Revival. Did I put Eternal Witness? She's there. Okay, she's there. I like all of our instant speed spells right now, so I'm gonna leave them for now. I'm gonna take Shatter Skull Smashing out of this list. I normally include it in everything, but not this one. We've got 29 lands. That's probably sufficient. I kind of want to put Phyrexian Tower in here, and this can win off of Emergent Zone, so we could still keep it. Obviously, the Courier line of play is Combat Infinite Saproling, so that's not going to win. But we could do Emergent Zone to cast spells at instant speed, and then utilize our Underworld Breach line of play to use a Praetor's Grasp to steal a Thassa's Oracle and win off turn, right? With their stuff. We could still do that. So that makes sense to me. Although I don't really like generic lands, I'll keep that one. Infernal Plunge is to just get the ball rolling with any Saprolings we have sitting around. Although I will state that it might not always work. We'll probably Infernal Plunge Slimefoot and Squee before we hit the Saproling. In all seriousness. Oh, God. Oh, what the hell? No. Diabolic Intent. I'm sorry. We wanted Diabolic Intent. Dang it. Well, I need to put Torch Courier in here anyways, so we'll do that. Torch Courier. Diabolic Intents. Not the tutor. Okay. How many sack outlets y'all working with? The Viserys. So Chris, we got just 2 sack outlets. Keeping everything to 2s here. So we've got 2 finders, 2 sack outlets. How effective is Imp's Mischief? Very effective. So it depends. Like if you're on your combo turn, Imp's Mischief, change the target of target spell to a single target, with a single target, excuse me. So this could be your opponent's Peer into the Abyss. This could be your opponent's counterspell. This could be your opponent. Name a single targeted spell, and Imp's Mischief will handle it. Right? You lose life equal to that spell's converted mana cost. That's fine. Whatever you're doing was probably more important. I like copy effects a lot, and I tend to value them highly, especially in a non-blue deck. I want to be able to borrow as much value as possible. In most instances, the thing that's going to crush us is a counterspell. So if I can copy a counterspell, bar minimum, it's doing exactly what I want. And it's at the same cost as a mana drain or a counterspell, except red instead of blue. I like them a lot. I know a lot of people aren't high on reverberates or forks, but I own a shit ton of them, and I use all of them. Okay, so we still need to cut cards, people. This is always the toughest part. I'm gonna get rid of Wild Growth. I don't like it anymore. No feelings on Wild Growth. I might actually get rid of, and the Courier's in, right? Okay, Torch Courier's in. He's hasty. He's enabling things. He can haste. I'm trying to think minimum what he's haste enabling that's really cool or really great. Really nothing. He's really just there for the combo turn. Is that a fact? Oh, that sucks. No, trying to think if there's something better. No, that's it. That's the out. There's the out there. That doesn't feel good. I want to keep all those artifacts. We're gonna keep all of these. Okay, we make some. It's gonna be a sorcery. It's gonna be Infernal Plunge. That didn't feel good. It's gonna be. There's just so many tutors. Like there's no cutting of a tutor. Who are we? Who would cut a viable tutor? What sick person would cut a good tutor? Okay, moving on. I lose my mind around this part. This is always very difficult for me. Was that a battle card? Oh yes, it is. It's Invasion of Ikoria. And before you ask, yes, it's worth it. It's the same thing as Finale of Devastation, essentially, here. It just gets you a non-human creature. What's the battle doing? Watch some of our videos on the recent set. Watch the ones on battles. We talk about Invasion of Ikoria. It's very good. I would say it's a new staple green card. Because we're cutting so much stuff, it's a redundancy that I feel like we might not need, but it's just Finale of Devastation without the payoff. Right? Which might not mean it's good enough. I'm going to sideboard it for now. It feels wrong, but Eldritch Evolution is better, I would say. Right? Because it's just the one less to do what we need. No, it's a lot less than the X. Unless we're just trying to get a Dockside Extortionist. Okay. 2 more cards, people. 2 more cards. It's easy. This is the easiest part. What are we going to cut? In all honesty, it feels like the lesser of the signants. Do I have a talisman that's not supposed to be in here? No. Okay, these are all supposed to be in here. Is Unearth worth a slot? No more introductions of new cards. And maybe, the answer is maybe. You can haste enemy creatures. Will, get out of here. Get out of here with this talk. We're not trying to do. Can you? Oh shoot. Could you imagine? You're like, hey, you want to do that thing? Attack with your Tymna too. Here, draw more cards. No, Unearth is probably maybe worth a consideration. Yes. Okay. Oh, look, in Happy Sunshine Land, which is the place I'm operating now, I'm going to get rid of one of our other sacrifice creatures. Don't do that. Bad idea. Bad. Don't do that. Especially because we only have 2 reanimate spells, but I got to cut somewhere, and I like everything else more. Now, I don't know which is the lesser of the lot. Let me look at our color pie here. Wait, I do know. 33, 23. Okay, it's green. We want the one with green and red. Okay, so it's going to be Impulse. Done. Lesser of the Talismans. Gone. All right, so before we begin, I'm going to have a little taste of this Lefroy. How do you pronounce this for me? I don't know. I'll wet my beak. I'll let you go to the bathroom. We're going to goldfish in a second. It's going to be amazing. This is going to be the best Slimefoot and Squee list you've ever seen. Was it Goblin? Was it Saproling? It's a little bit of both. Mostly Goblin. The thing is, when it comes to, like, I hate to say it, I feel like Tribal in Commander, it's going to inherently be on a lesser power level scale. Right? Unless it's coincidentally, like Najila is what? Warrior Tribal. Right? She's kind of warrior tribal. Like, the deck isn't focused necessarily on warriors, but she's making a mess of them, and you got a mess of them. But this deck, I wanted it to slant one way or another, but there just wasn't anything in place for Saprolings to have just as much effectiveness as Goblins do in this list. But I think when we're goldfishing, we're going to look for fast hands, all the fast hands, and then to eke out a win, our main phase 1 win, because we can do that. You know, I say main phase 1 because we've got cards that care about main phase 2. Like, maybe we do our thing, we do our ad nauseam main phase 1, we get it to rip, then we pull a Carpet of Flowers, main phase 2, a little bit more mana, lay down all of our rocks, do our thing, hopefully win, and we'll see how we get there. But we're going to storm. I'll say that after constructing this, just based off of the nature of the combo, Slimefoot and Squeeze combo, it's the Jund to cast, it's the 1 and a Jund to do the thing. It's kind of costly to get the ball rolling on all of that I feel like, considering the stacks package, the stacks avenue of approach might have been a little bit better, but I don't know. We're going to find out in just a second. Hi, nice to see the breach. It's there. We have breach lines, right? We do. With Grinding Station, specifically. You can drop Tainted Pack. It's a bad tutor that forces you to stop if you see a combo piece. Only because in the sick world of cEDH that we live in, Will, I can use Praetor's Grasp to steal a Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pack for a win, which I've done. right? It's a thing you can do. Do I like it? Do I feel dirty doing it? A little bit. But it's a thing you do. It's not our main line of play, but it's a thing you do. All right. I like a good turbo list. We'll see if we can get there. Not with this hand. Seems like a promising concept. I am going to agree. I'm going to say that this would probably be a really cool stacks list. I would love to see a stacks version of this list. If you make one, let me know. Curious to see it. We have Ad Nauseam. Sadly, there's no way to Lion's Eye and Ad Nauseam that I know of. But we do have the Dark Ritual and no lands. Is this a good hand, people? Would you keep this hand? So, if I... No, I wouldn't keep this hand. It's really, it really wants to do gross things. If we top deck a land, no, okay. Had to know. Well, we're just gonna go. We're gonna go until we find the hand that does the thing, not necessarily wins. So, Dockside Extortionist, Demonic Tutor, Mana Confluence, Rainbow Lands, Simian Spirit Guide into a Talisman of Indulgence, Desperate Ritual. There's some ramping. We got the Praetor's Grasp. Okay, so this hand has no. It's like you don't need protection for Dockside Extortionist. People generally don't care if you're casting Dockside Extortionist. It's the stuff you do after Dockside Extortionist that matters. So we could pretensies that we can get this to go off on turn 2 and ramp into some mana relevant enough to cast an Ad Nauseam. By turn 2, I'd say, depending on where we are in the rotation, most of the rocks go down between 1 and 2. So, and any enchantments like your Wild Growths, your Utopia Sprawls, your Carpet of Flowers, like the main early game enchantments that happen. Hopefully no Deafening Silences or anything like that. But we're going to do like an average count of treasures and go from there. So, I would say we can keep this in a pretensy world and do something. So let's do, Dark Ritual, that's good. Okay, so Mana Confluence. I'm going to nix the Spirit Guide here to just plain old cast, excuse me. I will put the Slimefoot and Squee on the battlefield just so it's more attainable. So there's a way we could cast Demonic Tutor right now. Right, so if I did this, if I Desperate Ritual into a Talisman of Indulgence, remember, Simian Spirit Guide, Mana Confluence, I will actually track my life because it's relevant for what we're doing right now. We could do Talisman of Indulgence off of a Desperate Ritual, have 1 red floating, and then tap this for a black, right? And it makes you damage yourself. And we'll cast a Demonic Tutor here on turn 1. Right, and Demonic Tutor is going to grab Ad Nauseam. Okay, cool. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Next turn, hopefully a land? Nope, okay, cool. Well, we still have enough mana to do the thing. Here. So I want to move this over so you can guys see this. Turn 2. Again, in our pretend world, and I'll be favorable to the table, we're going to do Dockside Extortionist, and we're going to make treasures. Let's say we make 4. Could be more, could be less. We'll make 4 treasures. We'll use 1 of the treasures. And this was tapping for a generic, so we don't need to lose life there. But we're going to make 4 treasures. And we'll use 1 of the treasures to make 3 black. We have nothing to protect this. I'm just going to ship it main phase 1. And again, in our pretend world, we're going to keep 1 treasure and none of the black. We're going to cast Ad Nauseam. We're going to rip it, and it's going to succeed because we're us. We're the best Slimefoot Squee players in the world. Main phase 1 Ad Nauseam, anyone? It succeeds. Ad Nauseam could have just said sorcery speed for us. So reveal cards off the top of our library and we'll lose life. I'm going to put them on the battle. No, I'm going to put them in my hand. Okay. Nice to see Breach. Good turbo list. I like the new Heliod stack. Seems like a promising concept. Yes. Okay. Moving on. Land for turn. Land for turn. Cabal Ritual. Okay, so 3 cards in graveyard. Okay, so 3 damage. 4. 6. I'm going to take 9. Let's take one. I know my math will fail me now, so I just want to get these out of the way now. Oh, Lion's Eye Diamond I like. Mox Diamond I like. These are all good. We're getting all of our artifacts. Good. We need a little bit more. We're going to go down pretty low here. The only thing that can trip us up is Hoarding Broodlord, mind you. So don't go too hard, I suppose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I think we're in Hoarding Broodlord territory. I think Hoarding Broodlord's 9. Give me 1 second. Hoarding Broodlord's 8. Okay. I mean, I saw that off the top, so we'll go down more. Okay, cool. So we have some fast mana here. This is what we want. I'm going to stop with the 5 life just because I can keep going, but it's probably not safe. What would be really cool is if we added that Phyrexian Tower, because again, land per turn Phyrexian Tower killing Dockside Extortionist is pretty sweet, but we don't have that. So let's just go ahead and put our ramp down first. If you've never ad naused before, what I recommend is you just get all your ramp out first, any sort of acceleration, and then you'll consider the rest of your play lines. If you need a tutor, you'll tutor. Keep your protection to the side and make sure you have everything necessary to go off. But we're going to get rid of the Gemstone Caverns here because they suck off play, off of starting the game. We can saw in half Dockside Extortionist, which is what I would highly recommend here. Do you guys get the enlarged card? It doesn't really help much. Okay, so in case you don't remember, saw in half is going to be a utility for our Hoarding Broodlord lines of play, but we're not too concerned about that now. We just want the mana off of Dockside Extortionist, and we have Goblin Matron here, so we have the win lined up. So that's all I'm really concerned about. So I just want to get to the point where I can do that. So let's go ahead and let's just make life easy. We'll just go for this. We'll go for a Taiga. And then we'll tap. And again, in this happy, friendly world we're living in, this is all pretensies, but this is all assuming that no one has answers for us. I'm going to leave the Elvish Spirit Guide on the battlefield just so I remember I have it. Also, please put Autumn Veil, Summer Veil, or please put Summer Veil minimum. Now that I'm thinking about it, put Summer Veil on this list. Okay, anyways, we're going to use the Elvish Spirit Guide. We're going to use the Taiga. We're going to use the Mox Diamond, leaving our treasure open from earlier. And let me just have something to indicate that on the battlefield right here. And we'll go ahead and saw in half our Dockside Extortionist. We're going to get 2 copies of Dockside Extortionist. And I'm just going to keep the original on. No, that's a lie. I do want to recognize that it's in the graveyard because it's relevant for our Slimefoot and Squee combo. So we do that. We make 4 more treasures. We make 8 more treasures. That's okay. Let's go ahead and cast Slimefoot and Squee. Am I mistaken? Do I have enough to even go off here? That's the real question. I do have a Cabal Ritual, right? I do. Okay, so we need to lose more cards, is what I'm getting at. And I have a Soul Ring. What am I doing? Didn't I just say get all of your ramp out of the way first? I will leave Dockside Extortionist out just to expedite the process, but they're both off to the side. These aren't on the battlefield yet. Yeah, let's do the Soul Ring. It is a little hard for me to see all of these. We have Entomb and Animate Dead. Like we could do so much here with this hand. We only have 1 form of protection, but again, they should have stopped the ad nauseam more over anything else. We will use a treasure for the Soul Ring. That is not the order in which you should have done this. We're also staring at a Lion's Eye Diamond, so we practically have it. The only thing that's hyper relevant right now is having Entomb or Underworld Breach in hand. Like if we're going to LED, we would want that. But if we're just trying to win with Slimefoot and Squee, we have all the essentials in our hand. So we can literally dump our hand with Lion's Eye Diamond and still have Goblin Matron to revive. The only thing we're missing, I think, is the sack outlet. So we need to grab that with Goblin Matron. Speaking of, let's just do the Soul Ring. Like I mentioned, we'll add boop, boop, I'm going to add a generic to my battlefield. We're going to do animate dead on Dockside Extortionist. Okay, Dockside Extortionist is going to make 4 more treasures. Oh, and I'm out here. We're going to go to 11. We're going to go to 11 over here. Okay, so we got 4 more treasures. I don't think I have a tutor for Breach. I do have a tutor for... Oh, no, I have Wishclaw Talisman. I just want to go for the Slimefoot and Squee win because... I don't know. Because that's the deck. But we could Praetor's Grasp someone's Underworld Breach potentially, or we can Wishclaw Talisman our own Underworld Breach. Those are our last tutors that are non-creature specific, I think. Yes? Okay. We could probably get rid of some of those rocks now that I'm thinking about it. Some. We do need a certain amount of artifacts on the battlefield. And all right, we did that. Have all the treasures in the world. Let's go ahead and cast Goblin Matron now. I just want to do this to get our sack outlet. So we will use the generic. We'll use this. And then we're going to grab Skirk Prospector. We can cast Skirk Prospector now. Nope. So for 1 red, treasure. We'll sacrifice Dockside Extortionist. Choop. Bloop. Right. I'm going to leave these just here. Actually, we're not technically done with her, but I'll leave her there. Okay, so we have 8 cards in our graveyard technically. After doing that, we have 2 red floating. I will use one of the red, and a treasure to cast Cabal Ritual. Cabal Ritual is going to make us 5 black. Storm turns. They're very fun. I forgot I have copies of Dockside Extortionist. We're going to kill them for 2 more red, just because. Okay, 2 more red. Now we're going to cast Slimefoot and Squee. Okay, so we need a red. We need a black. We need a green. So we did that. He's there. We're going to sacrifice him for a red. Put him into the graveyard. Now we're going to use Slimefoot and Squee's ability for the generic and Jund to bring it and another creature back. So bearing in mind, we make a Sapperling when we do this. I'm just going to leave this as a placeholder. We are sacrificing it to do this, but we'll do that. 1, 2, and 1, 1, 2. I'm just going to use the treasures for the other cost, even the generic, just to make it easier. At any rate, while we bring it back, this will die, we'll get a new one, and we bring back Slimefoot and Squee, Dockside Extortionist. So does this actually work is the real question when we're only generating 4 treasures, right? And it's nice that we did this as our example. So if we're only making 4 treasures with Dockside Extortionist, yes, this very much still works because we're able to use the mana we're getting off of Skirk Prospector, the red, to pay part of the cost. So this is virtually all, like this is 6 mana total in this combo. So we kill this for red. We're going to start by using the red for the generic in the red, obviously, but ultimately you can start, getting enough treasures to pay for everything else. So you make infinite mana, bring back Goblin Matron instead of Dockside Extortionist. You grab your Torch Courier, right? Grab Torch Courier, cast Torch Courier. We can do this any number of ways, but the way I would recommend, just to expedite the process once again, is to just sacrifice, we have infinite mana, but sacrifice Slimefoot and Squee to put it back in the command zone this time, right? Leave your Sapperling. Now we're going to cast Slimefoot and Squee. Whew. Okay, cast Slimefoot and Squee. Kill it with Skirk Prospector. Cast Slimefoot and Squee 1,000,000 times. Make 1,000,000 Sapperlings. Sacrifice Torch Courier to haste enable target Sapperling. Do the same thing again with Slimefoot and Squee to bring Torch Courier back, and then haste enable every single Sapperling. Okay, so far as win cons are concerned, I'd like to point out that this list only has Praetor's Grasp for an opposing win con. And then this. I think that's it. Would I add more? Totally. I totally would add more. Is there a better balance of dorks and artifacts to be had here? Yes, because we're relying on an Underworld Breach line of play that's not using our traditional brain freeze like you would in a blue deck, but Grinding Station, you do need a certain amount of artifacts to make it work. So having mana positive rocks is very important to kick, but to get the ball rolling, the 2-for-1 artifacts is still important with Grinding Station, right? But the Storm turn, again, you could logic that it would have made more sense to just do the Wishclaw Talisman for our Underworld Breach and just kick that off, and then use Demonic Tutor to get Grinding Station, Lion's Eye Diamond, Grinding Station, you can do the thing, infinite spellcast. Maybe you make an excuse for Ether Flux Reservoir to have your own Storm card. Truth be told, you can usually rely on Praetor's Grasp for that same effects. That might have been a better route, but I did want to illustrate the Slimefoot and Squee line of play minimum. Did we need to go through all the hoops that we did to make all the treasures to do the thing? I would argue yes. Like, just always make as much mana as you can before trying to do the thing. If you have the time to do the math, like I didn't do the math prior to this, and you can do the math in advance, do that so you don't have to make your friends suffer watching you set up. But let's go ahead and do it at least one more time. But let me see what you guys are up to. Dance with Calamity, we could. Because we are in black and we're on Ad Nauseam, Dance with Calamity kind of hurts, and the alternative that we're using in these colors is Hoarding Broodlord. So we don't necessarily need it here, but if we were lacking in black, then we might want to consider Dance with Calamity, although there aren't very many good tutors for it outside of black. There are a lot of win cons. Yeah, I mean, not baked into this deck right now. By and by. But that was a turn 2 win. How about that? How about that, world? You doubted Slimefoot and Squee? See, that's sort of just the power of Jund, and then more over the power of Ad Nauseam. Like, I want to state that was all brought to you by our sponsor, Ad Nauseam. Like, that, none of that is possible without Ad Nauseam. That's kind of how gross that spell is. And although we've advertised Hoarding Broodlord lines of play with Peer into the Abyss, because of the nature of this deck and the cost of some of the combo cards, I wanted to reduce the amount of top end cards we have in this deck. So Hoarding Broodlord's like the top end, and then it's just Ad Nauseam, and that's fine for the most part. But yeah, that's just the power of Ad Nauseam. And again, that's what this deck is trying to work towards anyways, and you can get a turn 2 win. So that other hand we kept with the 1 land was perfect. However, this time around, I want to try the same thing, and it's probably going to rely on Ad Nauseam again. We'll see. Hate to say it. What's a good alternative line for someone too broke to play Lion's Eye Diamond? You don't need Lion's Eye Diamond, Lizard Jesus. Really quick. Oh, yeah. Oh no. I set up new hotkeys. And one is for our podcast. That was not just shameless advertising. You don't need LED for this. It just helps to dump your hand off of an Ad Nauseam, which is good for Underworld Breach, right? So there are clear benefits to Lion's Eye Diamond, but you don't need it for a Grinding Station Underworld Breach line of play. It just helps you fill up your graveyard. But where we were filling up our graveyard enough that we wouldn't have needed it to dump our hand off of Lion's Eye Diamond. But that's really, it's funny to say, like, the mana off of Lion's Eye Diamond is really nice, but that's not the main reason you care about Lion's Eye Diamond off of a fat Ad Nauseam. You want to dump your hand to fuel an Underworld Breach. That's why it's important. To me, at least. Mullet, please. Okay. Done. Okay, so what I like about this hand is that we have a turn 2 Imperial Recruiter into a Dockside Extortionist. But that's as good as this hand gets. So we're going to mull this. We start with Dockside Extortionist and have a way to go into it with Skirk Prospector and Culling Ritual. Jesus, there's a lot of mana in this hand. Do I like it? Yeah, I like it. So what I like about Corpse Dance is that this is also another infinite combo with the deck. So if you don't know, if you're making minimum 6 treasures, you can use Corpse Dance. I have the combo in my hand. Let's try to do this. Okay, so for this game, this isn't a win, but it is infinite mana. We are still lacking the tutor necessary to make our dreams come true, mind you. But if you're making 6 treasures, you can use 5 of those treasures to Corpse Dance, buy back Dockside Extortionist. When Dockside Extortionist comes back, sacrifice it to Goblin Prospector. I'm sorry, in this scenario, you can actually afford to make less treasures because our sack outlet is making red mana. Usually not how I do this loop, but that's just the case here. So we can actually just make 5 treasures and get off scot-free. We'll come up with 1 treasure every single time. But this makes infinite mana. With infinite mana, we don't have a way to haste enable Slimefoot and Squee, but we could make infinite sapperlings. That's cute. All right, so now you see the combo. Only because I showed you the combo, I want to keep this hand. So let's go. That's not good. That's not good at all. Do we Lotus Petal the Talisman? Yeah, of course. Okay. And then do we use this? No, it doesn't have red. Okay. I was going to say we could put Skirk Prospector out now, but that's not what we can do. So we're going to pass. Okay. Mox Opal will be active in a second. If you're asking yourself, do you turn to Dockside Extortionist? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. So because I was so generous with the table last game on turn 2, I just want to say that this is a better Dockside turn, and we make 6 treasures. Okay. So we're making 6 treasures. Just a bunch of other greedy players also trying to make treasures. And we haven't lost any life yet. Nothing that I've done would have made us lose life, I don't think. Okay, so we're gonna make 6 treasures off of this Dockside. So our Mox Opal's live. We can cast Skirk Prospector. Casting Skirk Prospector. We'll do it with a Mox Opal, just to get that out of the way. Whoop, boop, boop, boop. It's bothering me. Okay, so here, Dockside Extortionist dead, red mana. Corpse Dance. Corpse Dance buyback. I just want to do the thing. This is turn 2 infinite mana. Is it relevant that we do this now? No. No. But I want to make infinite treasures, and then I want a calling ritual. So if I did infinite treasures calling ritual, I can nuke the board and then make infinite treasures again, and then be up on my opponents and cast Slimefoot and Squee off of all of the calling ritual mana. What the hell? Let's do that. I'm just going to say we make infinite mana in the way I just described. So sacrificing Dockside Extortionist, buy back Corpse Dance. We make infinite treasures. Okay, I'm going to set this to 0. That's infinite now. Just because we can, we'll cast Slimefoot and Squee, and then we will leave this in hand. We have Reanimate, right? Yeah, we still have Reanimate. It's fine. The combo works with Slimefoot and Squee just there. Calling ritual. Everything's gone. Everyone's in a shit state. I have infinite mana. Nothing to do with it. Okay. Not great. But with the infinite mana, I will let him die and then go proceed to make infinite sapperlings, right? So everyone's down. Everyone is down on their artifact ramp, right? Unless they had something that was 3 CMC. One guy's using Commander Sphere. Sure. Is Commander Sphere? Sure. One guy had Commander Sphere, so they're safe. But we have infinite sapperlings, infinite treasures still, Corpse Dance that everyone knows we have in hand, and a Reanimate that no one knows that we have. So cool. We're done. That's it. As a part of this line, would it have made sense to bring anything back? No, we don't. Nope, nothing to say. Okay, we're done. Passing the turn. Can anyone stop me from swinging with infinite sapperlings? Can anyone stop me on my next turn? No? No one pulled a Pyroclasm? No one was running a Anger of the Gods or whatever? Any of those clasms? Oh yeah, well, I swing with them in million sapperlings. Turn 3 win. All right. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna wet my beak again. Let me know what you guys think. Is this what you dreamt of? When I said Slimefoot and Squee, be honest. When I told you we were making Slimefoot and Squee, is this what you dreamt of? You sick Commander players? Is this what you wanted? Or let me know what you wanted instead. You'd float the mana near the end to do the loop after call. Either case, we had infinite mana. let me, yeah, whatever. I don't know. We just made infinite saplings. That's all important. That's all that's important to me. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. What would you change? How would you want this to go? Do you like how this is working? It's not bad. It's doing the thing. You'd have Dock and Prospector. Yeah. We would corpse dance afterwards to bring them back. You're right. It is relevant. It is relevant that we keep Skirk Prospector and Dockside Extortionist alive after the culling ritual. The only thing that was really relevant to me was just bringing my opponent's resources down so that they have less solutions to the problem I just put on the board. Would I recommend doing what I just did in that scenario with the hand I kept? Hell yeah. Totally. They need mass removal, and that's one thing cEDH just doesn't generally have. Like, someone would have had to tutor for their Toxic Deluge to ruin my board. And then I still had infinite mana I was sitting on. So, and they just saw me illustrate the corpse dance line of play. But in that situation, we would have lost our sack outlet. So that's bad. Infinite mana and nothing to do. We would have to see what the next card in our hand would have been. We knew we drew into a land, but I mean, that was good. I liked it. Or just slime for them back. The card is good. Right. Okay. So I think we're done illustrating this list. It's in the description. It's updated. If you're interested in building it, this is just one approach. It's only 36% competitive, which means that it can only win really with a really good hand on turn 1 or set up infinite lines of play on turn 2. Like, if that's not what you're trying to do, then I wouldn't say that this is the appropriate list for you. If you make a stacks version of this list, please share it. I'm very interested to see what that looks like. And I would say that there are better lists to do, like what you just saw me doing. There are better lists to just do that with. There are better lists to storm with outside of Jund. With Ad Nauseam, like, there are better decks that have better payoffs in the command zone that don't require you to run really wonky cards in the 99. I would say that if you were going to go for the stacks approach, like the lines with the courier, the torch courier, that all makes sense. Like, I really like that in a slower deck. I would say that I feel like if I were to actually build this out in paper, I would want to go with the stacks approach for this. Jund is missing out on some of the killer white stacks pieces, but there's a lot of really good stuff in these colors. So I like it. I mean, it clearly works. It's just using the body of an Ad Nauseam engine that's just effective in any colors, truthfully. But I mean, specifically in Jund with all those rituals, very, very good. At any rate, I'll leave you with the untapped banner again. As I say adios. I'm gonna relax for the evening. I gotta get groceries. I gotta eat dinner. I gotta finish this Lefroy. I have to pick up my motorcycle registration. I gotta make a return somewhere. So I'm gonna just live the rest of my evening. Probably focus on editing out content for you guys for the next few days so I can take a day off. Just work into the evening. But hang tight for more podcasts over the weekend. I want to do some gameplay soon, and I want to do gameplay specifically for One Piece, but I also want to do gameplay for Commander. It's going to be over on Spell Table, so not top down in studio, but I'm going to see if I can get some people together to do that. That would be really fun, just to have some leisurely games. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck. Thank you. I will have a good one. I will end with the... So I set this up. You're not going to hear my voice anymore, but I set this up and it has music. So next time we run the podcast, there's going to be music and it's going to be like this.